Good morning. Premier John Horgan here on the traditional territory of the Lekwungen-speaking people, the Esquimalt and Songhees First Nation. I want to acknowledge also the events unfolding into Kamloops territory around the residential school there and the profound impact that would be having on survivors, their children, and their grandchildren as we deal with the impacts of residential schools to this very day. I want to thank you for the invitation to speak today to the National Indigenous Guardians Gathering. I have very fond memories of the gathering in Vancouver just 2 years ago. I enjoyed hearing about your work here in BC, as well as learning about the Rangers movement in Australia. As you know, less than 2 years ago, our government passed the Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People Act. That was an important step towards a true and lasting reconciliation. It reflects our commitment to a transparent process as we engage in ongoing consultations. We believe in partnerships and we believe in collaboration. Just last week, the provincial government announced an historic agreement, a partnership with Coastal Funds and the Kwikwasutnuk Ha-Wanis First Nation. Funding will now be available for a Guardian Watchman presence throughout the First Nations territories in the Broughton Archipelago. The Heath Elise Agreement takes its name from the Kwakwala word meaning making things better, and that is what we're doing. First Nations hold an inherent right and responsibility to care for their traditional territories. You have been stewards of these lands and waters for millennia. Who better to do that work today than the descendants of those whose ancestors were the eyes and the ears on the lands we now call British Columbia? Collaborating with First Nations in the stewardship of traditional territories is part of advancing reconciliation. For the past year, our government has been looking at the best way for the province to do so. I'm pleased to say we're starting an engagement process later this month, and we will be speaking with Indigenous leaders and land stewards to better understand the stewardship work being done in traditional territories today. We are still ironing out the details, but we will get to a conclusion that will be in the benefit of all peoples and, of course, most importantly, the territories that we all call home. Our commitment is to listen to what First Nations partners think of the several important topics before us. We hope to create a shared understanding of the term guardian, to learn about existing guardian programs, and to have open conversations about how we can collaborate on shared stewardship opportunities. To aid us in this quest, we will be seeking a neutral and independent facilitator to lead the engagement. Early this week, we released our government's vision for a modern forestry policy, a policy that works for all British Columbians. And we know Indigenous people want and deserve a greater role in the forest sector and in forest management. Our goal is to increase the amount of replaceable forest tenures held by Indigenous peoples to 20% at the current 10%. A doubling of that tenure means more access to land, more access to economic opportunity to the traditional rights and title holders. Our vision also addresses the devastating wildfires we've endured over the past number of years. We want to work in collaboration with Indigenous partners who have been using fire as a stewardship tool since time immemorial. We're taking many steps towards reconciliation. Engaging with Guardians is another step and an important one. I raise my hands in thanks for the work that you are doing as Guardians. Haishka OCM.